Hello, extra time.
You point to the league not to get a hoy because it damages your reputation. It makes people, when they read it, just laugh at you.
The single block, they're playing in the League One and they're playing in the Europa League and they're credit and the game in this country. Maybe we should get Stephen Kenny down to manage the Irish team.
Welcome everybody to another episode of the extratime.com podcast. Your host Luke Jordan. Delighted to say Macdara Ferris alongside me again. Macdara, how are you?
I'm good, Luke. How are you getting on?
I am grand. I'm delighted to say we got Tommy Barrett alongside us today, Treat Night Manager. Tommy, how are you?
I'm good, Luke. Thanks.
I say only one place ready to start, and that's I say the camp is in buoyant mood after training today after a 4 winning at TCD quarter-final upset.
Yeah, the boys were in great form. They were in great form the other night after the game. They really enjoyed it. Probably, celebrated it a bit, which is important for the lads as well because semi-finals in this part of the country don't come around too often. So we're looking forward to it, and we enjoyed the win. It was such a positive night all round, with a good crowd in front of a big crowd and a really good performance. I thought, I don't think UC would have any complaints. We were the better team on the night, and we deservedly went through.
Is it fair to say it was a comprehensive win, 4-1?
Yeah, I think it was. Obviously it's UCD, so they always create a few chances. But once we got to third, I think it was fairly comprehensive after that. We had when we went 3-0, they had probably a 15 to 20 minutes period where they were on top. But throughout the game, we were definitely the better team. We were certainly the more clinical. Like they looked at a lot more possession than us, but not in the right areas. Our pressing all over the park was good, and we got 4 really good goals. Now one was a penalty, but the build-up play before it was really good, and we were clinical on the night, and sometimes you need to be like that, and everything fell right for us. And we were at it, and I don't think UCD were on the night. To be fair, they're much better than the show the other night. And you're going to get that with young teams as well. We're a bit like that at times ourselves.
Is it fair to say maybe there was a slight bit of motivation there, maybe extra motivation after the disappointing play-out defeat last season?
We're two different teams. They've lost, obviously, a lot of players, like say Kerrigan, Whelan is out injured, and Doyle, to name but 3. We lost 10 players, 4 or 5 to full-time football as well, like themselves. So, it was a different squad, different bunch of players in both games. So it can be quite different. So, I don't think, I didn't hear any of the boys talk about that or anything like that. They deservedly beat us in the first leg last year. I thought we were a bit unlucky in the second leg. We had them on the ropes at 2-0, and we got a man sent off with a half an hour to go. We were pushing, so we knew we certainly could beat them. And there were close games in the other games we played last year. So I think it was probably 3 wins to them, or 3-2, I think. So it was very close.
Yeah, and I suppose the man of the moment of the day was Enda Curran. A hat-trick in a quarter-final doesn't come around too often.
No, he's been very good this year. When he's in the box, he's a really good finisher. The penalty tucked it away nicely, and he'd missed a couple before that, a couple of penalties. So I suppose for his goals to games ratios and minutes ratio is very high this year. I think it's his best season ever. And we're kind of working on him just staying in the box a bit more, because sometimes he can be a bit unselfish, and he's going out wide or he's running the channels, and certainly we want him in the box because he's a really good finisher, as you could see, particularly with the third goal.
Yeah, and I think I have it here, 22 games and 16 goals in all comps. Is that right?
Yeah, and he wouldn't have played 90 in many of those, so he would have, he struggled with fitness this year because he's been injured a lot, and he came back from junior as well, so he wasn't super fit, coming in. He was, and I say this with the best respect in the world, he was junior fit, he probably wasn't, training at the intensity that he should have been training at, so he got a few injuries when he came back in. And we only train twice a week as well, because obviously we're a fully amateur club, so yeah, it's hard, I suppose, to keep that intensity level up, and to keep him injury free. We've trained 3 times at the start of the season, but we had to cut it to 2. But he's been really good for us. He adds that bit of experience, and he adds that goals. I think our top scorer last year was 5 or 6 goals. So it was great to get him in. I think himself and Dino have Dean George certainly have 20 between them, no doubt. Anyway, I think Dean is 7 or 8 as well.
Tommy, you talked about the training regime you have a couple of nights a week. How big a challenge is that, particularly in the first division where you're coming up against the likes of Cork and Galway, who pretty much full time. It's obviously a challenge when you're coming up against those types of squads.
Yeah, it's a massive challenge, Macdara. Like even against UCD, they train probably 4 or 5 times a week last week, and and they even probably train less than everyone else in the Premier Division. Bar maybe, I don't know, probably Harps. I'm not sure, but they could be full time now. I'm not 100%, but certainly in the first division this year, we really saw it when. The 3 full-time teams is the hardest first division I've ever seen. The 3 full-time teams in it, and it hit us when the fixtures didn't fall kindly for us. We saw it when we played Galway 3 times early on, and when there was Monday night games, we played Cork directly after, and we got hammered 3 times. And that 4th time when we played Cork, with a week's break, we beat them 2-0. So they hammered us on the Monday nights with a 3-day gap, and that's a huge difference. The recovery is massively beneficial, let alone the time that they have to prepare and the video analysis and the gym and everyone together. Like, we're sending out lads bits of clips of videos. We haven't even time to look at videos. We had to get off by 8 o'clock tonight because the pitch was dark. We didn't have training lights, and that's just the reality of where we are at the club. We work 3 nights a week, but with too many lads traveling, they couldn't do it anymore because we don't pay the lads, so they couldn't do it anymore. We were missing 3 lads that started tonight from training because they had to stay back and work. They couldn't get down in time. So and people say, well, they shouldn't be playing League of Ireland if that's the case, but there's just weeks like that where their jobs give them so much time off, and certain times that they have to give something back to the clubs, and we have to be flexible around that. It hit us for a period this time in the summertime. I can't remember exactly, but May, June, we were missing 3 and 4 lads a time at training. It's just the way it fell. Some were off and duty. They work different types of jobs, and other lads were just working shift work that they couldn't get out of, and it's busier in certain times of years, and you have to be flexible. So it's hard to manage. But we have a good group of lads. We have GPS systems as well, where the lads will do it anyway. They'll do what we give them, but we can track their load, and they can do the load or do their bit of training outside of the pitch as well, and that's the way we have to manage it. But we only have two days a week with the ball. I don't bring them in weekends, Macdara, because you're getting lads travelling for whatever recovery on a Saturday, and to keep them out of the pub. That's kind of the old school thinking. But our lads, they look after themselves well, and we trust them that they look after themselves, and they do that. So, I think that's benefited them as well, because we talk about recovery, but then we're playing on a Friday night, and the old school thought was, even when I was playing part time, was bring you in the Saturday morning and you're wrecked. You're travelling half an hour, an hour each way, or 2 hours. Some lads travel, in our cases, return trips, round trips, should I say. So, we try to get that rest period right, but it is massively, it's a massive challenge for us, and it's going to be a massive challenge. Even the cup against Derry, like with 2 o'clock kickoff for us, isn't ideal.
What are you guys thinking? Are you thinking of traveling up the night before, or?
We are, yeah, but even that's not ideal, because when we like you want lads sleeping in their own beds. I remember when I was with Limerick in the Premier League. We travelled. A couple of times we went up the night before, and it was 7:45 kick up, and I was there, lads, why would we do this? Because you're waiting around all day, and I just never got it, and we got hammered a couple of times we did it. And actually our best performances when we went up in the day, because the lads are still in the routine. So I think it's not ideal. I think the 2 o'clock kickoff, I don't understand why they didn't put us on at the 4:30 or 5 o'clock. It doesn't make any sense, especially when Waterford and Shells, and you'd imagine that's the 2 o'clock is probably the match that's going to be watched more, in terms of, because usually on a Sunday there's English football on. So I'd imagine people would think that the Shelbourne and Waterford is probably on paper a better tie for people, and a closer contest, and that would certainly be the rhetoric going around and the talk going around. So I just don't understand the thought process on that, but it is what it is now, and we have to get on with it and try our best to get a result up there. Look, we know it's going to be difficult, but at the same time, we've nothing to lose either.
Is that the mind games already now, playing yourself down for the game?
Yeah, well, I don't think it's mind games. Look, it's just the reality of it, isn't it? We ran Dundalk at home last year. We ran them quite close. We brought them to extra time, but they were going through a rough period at the time. And Patrick McElhenney actually scored the winner. He came off the bench and scored a winner, and that was down to Markets Field. Look, our lads will try their best, and we'll go up there and give it a shot. You never know on the day. Everything's on the day. We'll need everything to go right for us, and then probably to not be at 100%. And we'll need a bit of luck as well, obviously. But we certainly will be going up there with the mindset to win it, obviously. But certainly we have to have a plan. We can't go gung ho from the start, and we have to have a game plan to implement. But look, you won't be from the one to try with these lads. They'll work their socks off, and I'm sure they'll give a good account of themselves.
There's been a bit of discussion about the plastic pitches, a bit of discussion yesterday. What's your thoughts on having games at the elite level played on a plastic pitch in Ireland?
Well, it's not ideal, but from I suppose from a financial point of view, even with ourselves, we obviously have an excellent surface on the Markets Field, and it's great to play in it. But I can understand why clubs would do it from a financial point of view, because we are paying out through the nose. We have 7 or 8 teams running, and when we pay a lot for facilities, particularly in the winter months. We pay in the summer months as well. And if we had a plastic or an Astro pitch, we wouldn't be paying that money that it costs to run the club, and that can go elsewhere. So, it's not ideal. Players don't like it. I'd imagine even the Derry lads don't like it too much if they're training a lot of the time. And it's different. It's a different game. The ball bounces differently, and it's certainly it's heavier on the body. It's harder on the body. Your hips and joints and your knees. And whilst the Astros have got a bit better, they're certainly not. They're not great for the bodies of players' bodies and players' recovery, I think. But we have to train them as well. We train them. We're going back on the Astro next week because we've no light on grass, so we'll be on Astro anyway. And while it's not ideal, I can certainly understand it from a financial point of view.
What have you made of the FAI Cup this year? Because I think if you were to ask anybody to pick their final 4, I don't think, maybe bar Derry, that would be the final 4 people pick.
Yeah, I thought the First Division and the Premier Division the last couple of years has certainly got a bit closer. And you can see that in terms of results. I think you've seen a couple of like Waterford beat Pats this year, and Wexford beat Sligo, and they're in Dundalk close, and obviously Waterford beat Dundalk. And as I said, we brought Dundalk to extra time last year, and there's been a few other close results. There hasn't been too many hammerings between First Division and the Premier. I think Dundalk beat Longford well, but they were well in it up to 60th, 70th minute, if memory serves me right. So they're quite. The gap is getting a bit closer, I think, particularly near the bottom end. Obviously, the top end, the likes of Shamrock Rovers and Derry. There's a big gap, and I suppose the draw has been kind to certain teams, and a lot of the big teams met each other, like Shamrock Rovers and Derry met each other. There was a number of years there where the likes of Dundalk and Cork didn't meet till the final. So I think anyone in the Premier Division can beat each other, and certainly in the First Division anyone can beat. We proved that last week with certainly the bottom to mid table of the Premier Division, but it's going to be a step up for us certainly. But we'll take comfort that we ran Dundalk close last year, and hopefully we can do something similar this year. What we don't want to do is go up and I'm just thinking back, and I know Cabsy's a good friend of mine. I know him very well for that loan the last time they played Dundalk in the semi-final. We don't want to get turned over like that. you know, and you won't thank me for mentioning that, but it's certainly in the back of my mind that, you know, you don't want to go up there and be turned over. So we have to be positive, and we have to have a mindset that we can go up there and at a minimum put on a show and come out there with a bit of respect and giving our best shot, you know. And I think that's important, and I don't want to sound defeatist. And we certainly won't be going up there defeatist on the day. We'll go up there, like I said, try to win a game. You're in it to win it now. You're in the semi-final, you're 2 games away, so you have to try and win it. But it's going to be really, really difficult for us. And if we do, sure, it's fantastic. We've nothing to lose if we don't.
Yeah, just thinking back even to just our first conversation over a year ago now in terms of Treaty United, the project, and it was only beginning, things like April 2021, and obviously now we're in August 2022, about 12, 14 months on from that. How have you found the growth of Treaty since that initial conversation we had? Like, has it been much buy-in in the local community, attendance wise? Is it healthy? Like, how do you see the project now over a year on from our first conversation?
No, it's been difficult. You know, we haven't got in. Like, it costs. We've 7 or 8 teams now. I think 7, and it costs 500 grand to run those teams, which, you know, doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot for a club that's new and trying to garner support. We haven't got massive. You know, we've got a good main shirt sponsor, but we haven't got massive sponsorship in from the business community. You know, we have a few main lads, but it's a lot of money to raise for our board, and we are finding it difficult to bring in money. You know, that's we pay all our bills, we pay them on time. That's where we're being transparent, and you know, but we are finding it difficult. I've been disappointed in the crowds. I've openly said that, you know, we're in chance of a playoffs and we're getting 400 and 500 at games, you know, and you're looking at the likes of Waterford and Galway, similar sized cities, you're getting averaging 1900, you know, and I don't know, is that apathy towards the history of senior football in Limerick? Is it, you know, summertime football? The crowds generally dip in Limerick. A lot of people own mobile homes because we're so close to the coast and stuff like that. And a lot of our regular fans would probably go to the coast and go to West Clare and North Kerry and stuff like that. So, but then there's the, you know, have we weary fans that there's a history there of senior football, and it's like, you know, we've lost so many down through the years because it's been so up and down, and we haven't produced senior internationals, we haven't been successful, and maybe they've grown a bit tired of that. So I think we need to target younger fans. It was great last week. We'd probably 1,500 people in there, and I'd say 700 or 800 of those were teenagers and young people who hopefully can be our future fans. And I think that's where we need to go. We need to target those guys and make them Treaty United fans and League of Ireland fans, as opposed to Man United, Chelsea and Man City. Of course, they can be the fans of those as well, but their first port of call is the Markets Field. You know, it's difficult to get the lads who are entrenched in the Friday night, the Premier League, Saturday, Sunday stuff, unless you get their kids hooked. And I think that's the way we need to go. But certainly it's excuse me, Luke, it's a large, long-term project where we need to get the communities on board, the schools on board, the business communities on board. We need to gain that trust, you know, and we need to grow slowly. You know, we need to get our own facilities developed, and you know, we probably are too far ahead of our time at the moment, and that might sound mad, but you know, the expectation levels have risen now. And you know, people were nearly expecting us to be in the playoffs this year, and expecting us to probably even beat UCD the other night, which is really unrealistic in terms of, you know, that we're fully amateur, trained twice a week, and genuinely, I say this regularly, and people are sick of hearing it, and maybe they don't want to hear it because they don't want to look at the state of Irish football, but it's costing our lads to play. You know, it's costing every one of them, and you know, they're fully amateur, and they have to take time off work, and it's costing them travelling. Most of them, because we have a lot of lads from outside Limerick, Galway, Kerry, Dublin, and Portlaoise and the likes of that, and we've one lad in Kilkenny. So we have, and even the boys in Tipperary are, you know, 45 minutes an hour away, and so we've clear lads after that, and we've one lad, I think, from Limerick city suburbs. That's it at the moment, so it's definitely a regionalised team, and we need to get more support in and more financial backing. As I said on the radio the other day, there's plenty of energy companies there with surplus of money. We can take the money off them if they want to give it to us. We'll put good use to it. But we certainly need to get that, and we need to. The facilities is a huge issue, and we've created a good partnership now with Thomond College, and we hope to develop those facilities in the next number of years. And it's a huge issue for us, the off the field stuff. And hopefully we can get that right. And I hope I didn't rant on too long around that now.
Well, what helps, Tommy, is having a competitive team. And you did that last year. You've done that this year. Like looking at the table, there's a good gap between you and sixth place. So, there's still plenty of football to be played in the regular season, the first division. But you're in a good position to carry some momentum into those playoffs when they come around.
Yeah, we are. We've done really, really well. I think to be 9 points with 4 games to go above Wexford is a fantastic achievement. Wexford have been flying it this year, and there was a lot of talk about they'll be getting into the playoffs and the likes of that, and they might yet. We have to do our business, but certainly we've put ourselves in a very good position to get into the playoffs, and we've been very, very good, particularly last round of games. I think we're the form team in the league. If you look at the league table over the last round, 8 to 10 games. We've won 8 out of our last 10. We've won 6 league games out of our last 8. And I think that's the farm team in the division. I think just ahead of Longford, to my recollection or to my knowledge, that's great going for a team with 3 full-time teams in it. So we've hit farm at the right time, and hopefully we can continue on that.
Just in terms of what you're saying there about the club and obviously the growth of the club and also the long-term project, in terms of future plans and what the club can do, like obviously on the pitch is obviously very important, and that's where your kind of key aspect is. But in off the pitch, like the talks, maybe getting a community development officer if there isn't one already. Like I know for example, like in my own club, Pats, that over the last 4 to 5 years, I've seen a huge increase in attendances, for example, especially younger people. So that's something the club maybe could do possibly, is looking at getting a community development officer to go into schools, like you were saying, trying to get those younger fans in.
Absolutely, Luke. We've been speaking about that regularly. I have a good relationship with, it was formerly LIT, it's called TOOS now, so I won't go into the long name of it, it's a big long one, but it's certainly, we're meeting them this week, myself and the director of football, in terms of, trying to build stronger partnerships there, and community development is at the core of that. And, we hope to go into partnerships with the likes of TOOS and UL. And I said we're already in with Thomond College and the LCTB even, and work with those and try to see can we come up with something for the likes of community development officers, even growing our community side, our community programs like Football for All and the likes of that as well. That's another thing that we're looking at the moment as well. So we're looking to grow all the time and expand, but we certainly are looking for in the next year or so to put those employees in place. That's for sure. I think there'll be, before there's employees on the football pitch, I think there'll be employees off it. I would imagine, to grow the club, and that's the most important thing. We've said that from the start, but we need to stick to that, and we need to stick to the plan and not veer away from it. And sometimes the on the pitch stuff can be a distraction, and the fact that we're doing so well at the moment and probably ahead of our time on the pitch, that sometimes the off the pitch stuff can be neglected, and it's important that doesn't happen, and hopefully it won't.
And on top, I suppose, of the good news on the pitch in terms of you winning the cup tie, like obviously one of the things we spoke about before is kind of the lack of Limerick players that have played in the national team. And obviously this week, Darragh Costello getting the call up to the U21 side was obviously a big achievement for Limerick football, and they're striving forward in the right direction.
Yeah, he's done really well, Darragh. He didn't play with Limerick underage. He went directly to Galway from Manicotti. I don't know, did we miss out on him there? I was involved at the time, but he was 15 or 16 and Galway got him before us, or I don't know, was he on our radar or not? I can't remember exactly, but I remember him playing against us in the Markets Field. when he was with Limerick in the first division, and he scored. I think we beat Galway 2-1 on the day, but he scored the first goal, and he looked a real prospect, and he was good with both feet, and he was athletic at the time, and I think he was only around 16. I tried to sign him the following season then, but he was well entrenched in Galway, and he's done really well for himself. He seems like a well-grounded kid, and I wish him well, and hopefully he can be a future senior international.
I can tell you a bit of good news there. Come on, like, he's a Limerick-born player. You can claim him. I suppose
who's the Limerick-born player?
Derek Costello.
Derek, yeah, he's from Anacati. Yeah, we're claiming him.
You can claim him. Yeah, I thought you were giving him the I thought you were giving him the Galway. I was saying you can have a bit of good news.
No. I said he was with Anacati, and we missed him. But he's from Limerick. But Galway grabbed him before Limerick FC at the time. No. We'll be certainly claiming him. He's a Limerick man. Yeah.
So before let's go, Tommy, just returned to league action this week. Away trip to Longford, I suppose. It's important to keep the wins coming, like you said, to make sure you consolidate that playoff spot for Wexford Tipia.
Yeah. Well, look, we have to be careful that they don't, and hopefully we can get some kind of result up in Longford. It's always a tough game. They're always close. I think we've drawn twice with them this year, 2 no score, and we beat them 3-0 in the Marcus Field, but it wasn't a 3-0 game, to be fair. It was a lot closer than that, and we were probably lucky. I think they got a man sent off, and we ran out, got 2 late goals, so it's going to be tough. They always play a good brand of football, and Gary Cronin's done an amazing job up there. In fairness to him, he's qualified for the playoffs with 5 games to go is a fantastic achievement, just behind the full-time teams, and he done it with Bray as well. So they've done great, himself and JJ. So and all the players up there. So it'll be a tough game for us, and we've a few lads now carrying knocks, so we might have to mix it up a bit. But it'll be good for the lads that are chomping at the bit to get some game time, so they'll be happy to go up there and put in a performance.
Tom, it's great to chat to you. Thanks for coming on. We'll chat soon.
Thanks, Luke. Thanks for that. See you,
Thanks a lot, Tommy. Appreciate that.
Cheers, lads. No bother. Take care.
Get in touch. You can email us at extratimelive@gmail.com or tag us on Instagram using the hashtag League of Ireland, or tweet us at Extra Time News.
Let's do it.
Welcome back to the second half. Delighted to say Macdara is still alongside me. Tommy's always a good guest, Macdara, isn't he?
Yeah, it was really interesting talking about their setup going from 3 nights a week to 2 nights a week, but the use of technology, so GPS, making sure, Big Brother watching, making sure that the players are doing their bits, and it kind of makes sense about the warm down on a Saturday. I know certain clubs sometimes do that as well. They might do a warm down session straight after the game on a Friday, and then not have to bring the players in on a Saturday. But interesting on the challenge that Limerick, that football in Limerick is kind of facing, as Treaty have kind of taken over as the club down there, and the support, they're trying to get a little bit more support kind of financially from businesses, and then also the crowds as well. I was interested to hear him talk about the kind of the crowds that they're getting. Oh, it would be amazing if they can get a result in Derry and get a cup final. That would certainly bring peak interest and sponsorship from Limerick City and around the environs, if they can get to the cup final, if they can beat Derry. But that is a big ask, as he was saying.
Who was the last first division team to get to the cup final? In my head, it's Shells 2011, I'm going to say.
When they lost, yeah, I think so. I think that was the last time, yeah.
That's the last one. Has there ever been a all first division FAI Cup tie?
Well, first division started in 1985, so maybe not. I think you're probably thinking maybe non-league, and Bray were in the first division when when they played St. Francis.
St. Francis, yeah. That's 1991, is it? 92, around that.
92, I think, because I think 91. You're showing me up here. I think Galway won the cup in 91 when they beat Shamrock Rovers. Now,
yeah,
there's Galway United fans screaming at their phones on podcasts as we speak.
We'll move on from that to our usual Shamrock Rovers talk of the week. I feel like it's a regular occurrence on the show, the Shamrock Rovers section. Obviously, we'll chat about the first 2 games in the group stage for them. We'll start with your Gardens. I think we were chatting beforehand, Macdara, that it does seem like a bit of a missed opportunity not to pick up 3 points in that game.
Yeah, it was a very even game, but they had 3 pretty good chances in the second half. Rory Gaffney had one, Aaron Green had another. So, but but I think certainly not complaining about getting a draw and starting off the campaign with a point, earning them 166k as well. So, but they had chances to win the game, but Djurgårdens were a decent enough side as well. I think we saw that in match day 2. They beat Molde 3-2. So I think that point maybe is looking even better. But I think it was a good result. Certainly can't complain because Rovers had lost all 6 of their group stage games when they played in the Europa League in 2011.
And I don't remember, it was obviously not the game as well, Alan Mannus having to pull off 2 or 3 big saves. Like
he was certainly he was called into action, but their goalkeeper was the one that had to make the big saves. There was kind of a 1-on-1 which he shepherded Aaron Green onto his weaker foot. There was a Justin Ferris eye shot, I think, that he smothered as well. So Mannus had to make a couple of saves, but it certainly was their goalkeeper, Djurgården's goalkeeper, that had to pull off the better saves.
Were you disappointed it wasn't a full house?
Well, what Rovers were doing was they were trying to sell the 3-match package together, so trying to sell all 3 games. Depending on how results go, they obviously lost the second game. They could go into that that last game and really have kind of not a lot to play for. I think it's Djurgårdens I think it's Ghent is the last home game. So they were trying to. I think you could only buy an individual match ticket maybe on the Tuesday before the game on the Thursday. So I think that's what the push was. Like in 2011, they didn't get full houses either. But what happened was the 3-match tickets were all snapped up. But it was a lot of Irish-based Spurs fans who bought the tickets, didn't turn up for the first 2 games, and then came to the last game, which was mid-December when Spurs played, and that was the only one that was a full house. So I think it was 6,800. They probably could have got another maybe 800 seats that they lose. There's a few dead zones that they lose for the trying to stop people getting on the pitch. So they lose some seating at the front of the south stand, and then there's obviously a neutral zone between the home and away fans. So so a bit disappointing. Yeah, it would have been great to see it tick over 7,000, but it's still a very, very good crowd.
And you know what's significant though about that game in the in 2011 Rovers and Tottenham Hotspur? Do you know what the big moment that game was?
Harry Kane, are you?
Yeah, Harry Kane's first goal for Tottenham Hotspur, wasn't it? 2011. I think it was.
Yeah,
his first
it was his first competitive goal. Yeah, and he scored quite a few more since then.
Yeah, the second game against Ghent, then I think as I was saying to you off air, I think my only disappointment in the game was the manner of the goals they conceded, kind of similar to Ludogorets. I think obviously everyone is probably in agreement. Ghent are the best team in the group, are definitely up there in Molde, and they're better than probably Shamrock Rovers technically or whatever it was.
Yeah,
the manner of the goal are disappointing to concede. I think again, the conceding was a 3 away again. It's disappointing. Yeah,
and it's the same conversation. It's errors at the back. Dan Cleary kind of slipped. It was a short kick out, slipped, and quite a brave block actually with his head. And then the ball comes out to the Ghent captain, who was really good on the night, and it was a really good kind of scissors kick finish. But yeah, I've heard Rovers players and Stephen Bradley talk afterwards. There's lessons to be learned from it, but you're kind of going, well, there are lessons to be learned, but you don't seem to be learning them. Or is it just a case of you're playing against you're playing against really good opposition in Europe, and if you make those mistakes that you're punished. But they definitely look to play it from the back. I thought when we spoke after the Bohemians game, Rovers, when they lost in Daily Mail, Rovers went really long that night, and it looked like, well, okay, maybe they were trying to do that because that's how they were going to play in Europe, but they didn't go long long Ghent. But looking at the stats, Rovers had no shots in the first half, but in the second half, they had 7 shots, 4 of them on target. There's a couple of really good chances. Ferris I had one. There was an hilarious one where the Ghent player went down injured, and the goalkeeper, I don't know what he was trying to do. He went to try and kick it out, played it against his injured man, and Aaron Green was pretty ruthless, and he went, no, I'm having some of this, and he played on, squared it to Gaffney, who his chance was saved, and it got a little bit tasty afterwards between the players. But certainly in the second half, Rovers went for it, but they were 2-0 down at that point. They were playing in front. They were playing towards the Rovers end. There was 1,000 Rovers fans went to the game, but it was a disappointing crowd. overall it was 7,800. Like potentially Rovers could have that crowd in Tallaght Stadium when Gent come later on. But I think it was an early evening kickoff, so it was 6:45 kickoff local time, which is certainly a bit earlier than it normally play. The Gent Stadium is 4.75 kilometres from Foley's Pub, which is in the city centre, because Rovers fans actually walked out en masse to the game, marched out to the game together. It took about an hour to get out. Quite a good policing move, because I think it tired people out, which probably helped. But so it's quite far out from the city centre, and I think that kind of took away. Obviously, Rovers aren't a particular draw for Gent fans to come and watch, but it was a bit of a pity that there wasn't kind of a more of an atmosphere in the ground. I was kind of hoping it might be like the Ferris game, which similar size stadium, 20,000, and there was 15,000 people at the game, and there was really good atmosphere. But the Rovers fans, it was the biggest Rovers travelling contingent for a European game since, talking Spurs again, since they went to White Hart Lane probably in 2011, and it was really it was the away game that Rovers fans, when the draw was made, it was right. Okay, it's in a few weeks' time. Loads of different options to get to Belgium, and pretty cheap when you got there. So people really made a 1,000 fans. A lot of families, man, a lot of kids. I've never seen so many kids at a game. Actually, I travelled with 3 friends of mine, and one of them had their son, who's 12-year-old. He was coming to the game for the first time, and it made for really good atmosphere in the city centre on the day of the game and at the game itself. And most people went with not a lot of expectations that the Rovers are going to get something from the game, and it was just a bit of a pity they let a goal in after 8 minutes. Really, that was kind of, you wanted the game to kind of go on a bit more, and say 2-0 at halftime, the game was pretty much over. But I think they can take some positives from it, and there are some learnings to be had. Hopefully, they'll make them before the next game. There's a couple of weeks now before the next European game.
So after the first 2 games, now, if you were told beforehand you'd have 1 point out of 2. Would you be happy with that, or would you rather now, look and reflect, and maybe the 3 points against Djurgårdens is a kind of missed opportunity?
Yeah, it is. But like Rovers' home record now, they've played the 4 wins and a draw from their 5 games at home. They haven't lost a game in Europe at home this season, which is a brilliant record. And away from home, they've a win, a draw, and the 3 defeats against the very good teams. So I think with a game at home, like Djurgårdens is probably the one that they are the weakest team in the group. But there isn't too much between. Like Stephen Bradley was saying that he thought Molde were probably the strongest side within the group, ahead of Gent, who were ranked highest. Gent are the Belgian Cup holders, but they finished 5th the last couple of seasons in Belgium, and they're 5th at the minute. But obviously Belgium is a really, really strong league. I think the fear was Rovers were going to get no points. That's what I was wondering, ahead of the group game. So to get one at home against Djurgårdens, and then I think they were always going to lose away to Gent. I think that point's really important, and hopefully they can pick something up at home again. I think they'll be really confident they could beat any of the teams at home in Tallaght, say unbeaten at home this season. So and away from home, Molde away, I think is the next game. Again, they'll be looking to go and try and win that game. That seems to be the style of Rovers, no matter who they're playing against. And if they went to try and win the game and got another point, I think that'd be an excellent result.
Just before I move on, a quick word on the FAI Cup exit. Disappointing day on Sunday. Were you at the game actually? Were you up in Derry?
No, I had all plans to go, and then it was on RTE, and then it was like, no, I'll go to the under-19 game and watch Rovers play Bohemians, not realising that under-19 game was a cup game, so that went to extra time and penalty. So I didn't actually see. I only got the most of the second half of the cup game. So Rovers losing back-to-back games. That's the first time they've done that in over a year. What surprised me about the results, when I did the prediction, I said, when I did the match preview, the prediction I had was that I thought Derry would win 2-1 in extra time, and they won 3-1 in extra time. What surprised me was that Stephen Bradley only made 4 changes to the starting lineup. So, and one of them was bringing Leon Poles in goal in place of Alan Manis, and that was kind of expected. Poles had played the other FA Cup games, and But I thought Bradley might mix it up a little bit. He played a very, very strong team. But I think it was always going to be difficult. Rovers had gone on 3 days rest to Derry after a European away game last month and drawn 0-0, but they should have lost. So and certainly reading the match reports and listening to the commentary and the analysis afterwards, Rovers were second best on the day. The difficulty is, Lee Grace got sent off. That means now he's missing for Thursday night's game against Shelbourne. Sean Hoare is likely to be out. He picked up an injury. Pico Lopez is nearly back, so he might be available. But Rovers are really going to be struggling at defence, and they're only a point clear of Derry City with 2 games in hand, and they're playing those 2 games in hand across the international break. So they're playing Shelbourne in Talk Park on Thursday, and then playing UCD at home on Monday. So, but yeah, I wasn't overly surprised. Extra time probably didn't help them either now in relation to rest and recuperation. And it was 2 former Rovers players who got the goals in extra time, so Danny Lafferty and Brandon Kavanagh. And they certainly enjoyed celebrating goals against their former clubs. I'm sure why not, got them into the semi-final. I'm not going to give out too much about that.
Yeah, and I suppose last point really to make, you kind of touched on it there. Rovers now have the piled up, fixtures coming up. Derry have a bit of momentum behind them. And another loss for, say, Rovers. Can you see a opening for Derry to come back in?
Well, Derry don't play till they don't play till like the 30th. They play Pats actually. That's the next game, and Rovers will have played their 2 games in hand. So Rovers are point clear. Say they maybe, the expectation is the Rovers are going to beat UCD. Shelbourne might be buoyant from their comprehensive 3-0 win over Bohemians in the Cup. That might be a draw. So say Rovers get 4 points from those 2 games, pushing 5 points clear. I think that'll be pretty good coming into Derry have to travel to Tala for the second last game of the season. What Rovers will want to do, they'll want to have wrapped up the league by then. They won't want to be going into that penultimate game of the season thinking, oh God, if we lose this game, what does that mean? But I think if Rovers win those 2 games in hand, that really puts them in the driving seat to be 7 points clear. Now that if they had got through to the Cup semi-final, they were going to have to rearrange their way to Drogheda that Cup semi-final weekend, and they were going to have to shoehorn a game in really, probably 2 days rest, which would have been really, really difficult. So they don't have to do that now. So they're just competing on 2 fronts now rather than 3 points. And certainly talking to Rovers fans as I was over in Ghent last week, people had written off the Cup. Fair play to anyone who did travel up to the game. There was a good few travelled up, but people had basically written off, certainly from the fan base point of view. Certainly the players and the management hadn't and went to try and win that game. But I think the Cup is really important for all clubs, really important for Shamrock Rovers, but retain the league title and getting that Champions route, trying to get back into the group stages next year, trying to pick up more wins to help the seeding, to help the finances is more important than the FAI Cup. And that cup draw, Waterford have got the home draw against Shelbourne. Whoever gets through, following on from last year where we had Pats and Bows for all the previous years, it was kind of Dundalk Shamrock Rovers and Dundalk Cork City was the top 2 teams in the league who were battling out for the league. And certainly as a neutral, I really enjoyed going to the cup final last year where it was 2 teams who hadn't been there. There was really big crowds. Can you imagine whoever wins that Waterford Shelbourne tie, they're going to bring huge numbers to the Aviva, and they're selling the tickets already. A lot of neutrals will have bought the tickets. The expectation obviously is Derry will beat Treaty. Even Tommy was he wasn't talking up too much his chances, but you never know. As you say, Derry have one eye still trying to, maybe they'll be a bit closer to Shamrock Rovers by then. I think it's the 16th of October is the
16th of October, Sunday.
Yeah. So maybe there might be a different position. They might be a bit closer than that if Rovers do drop points over the next couple of weeks. So, but the fact that both games are on, those semi-finals are on RT, I think is really good. And whoever gets to the final, I think it'll be a great day out for them, and I think it'll add to the occasion for any neutrals who are watching in. Which I think the cup final is probably, I think it's the last weekend of the Premier League just before it breaks for the World Cup. So I don't think it quite has the Sunday to itself, but it'll be great day either way.
Get in touch. You can email us at extratimelive@gmail.com or tag us on Instagram using the hashtag League of Ireland or tweet us at ExtraTimeNews.
Let's do it.
And welcome back to the third half. Delighted to say I have Dave Donnelly alongside me. Dave, how are you?
Grand, how are you?
Yeah, not bad. I suppose it'd be kind of dismissive of us not to chat about the big games this week in terms of the Irish national teams, the senior and 21s. We'll start with the senior team. Big game against Scotland coming up and Armenia down next Tuesday. In terms of squad selection, Dave, I would say it's a fairly settled squad at this stage. No kind of big surprises.
Yeah, no, it's fairly settled at this point, and like it's Stephen Kenny, I think, has settled on 90% of his players. I know a few players had to duck out due to injury, but Andrew Omabamidele, obviously he had to duck out and Liam Scales came in, but otherwise it's basically the squad you'd expect. So it's it's great to, after a few years of unsettlement, it's great to see that the squad is more or less penciled in.
Yeah, I think it's a shame as well about Omabamidele because he's been playing so well for Norwich to start this season, playing really well, back in form after an injury, and it's unfortunate to pick up another knock. It seems to miss these games, and even the kind of sideshow of the Kelleher issue, like no one seems to know where he got injured. Klopp saying one thing, Kenny saying another thing, and that's always a bit of a blow. I suppose I've just jotted down here as well. I suppose one of the big talking points too is in terms of play time, Coleman, Duffy, and alongside Matt Doherty haven't really played much football since the start of the season, it's not ideal going into these two games.
No, Kenny was talking about in the press conferences, kind of he's kind of made it a point over the last year or so that you have to be playing football for your club to come into the international setup. And he has a bit of a problem now because those three players haven't been playing. I know Duffy, because he only went on loan to Fulham at the end of the transfer window, he maybe didn't have an awful lot of opportunity to come in. Doherty and Coleman were both injured coming into the start of the season, so they all have reasons why they aren't playing, but also it's kind of a problem for Stephen Kenny. So I think at least one, probably two of them will play in the Scotland and Armenia games, but it's not ideal that they're not playing regular football.
I think if I was a betting man, Matt Doherty's still a shoe-in on the right-hand side. I just don't see another player there that's going to take his spot. And then I just can't see a situation where Duffy is dropped. I just don't see. I think he's comfortable with that back three of, especially after the Nation League games, of Collins, Duffy, and Egan. I think that's the back three he's settled on now. That's my own personal opinion.
I think if Omabamidele was fit, that might be a conversation. But I think due to the injuries, it's overwhelmingly likely that Shane Duffy will play. I agree with you that Doherty, I think, will play as well. The only alternative to him I see is Robbie Brady, who has played a bit on the right for Preston. But I think it's probably more likely that he might play on the left. It'll be between him and McLean on the left. And you'd guess that Matt Doherty will play there. And Doherty was even saying today that Antonio Conte has more or less said that, you need to be playing for your country and then you can get back into the Spurs setup. So I would be surprised if he didn't play as well. So my feeling is that it'll be James McLean on the left and Matt Doherty on the right, but possibly Robbie Brady on the left. we'll see what happens.
I suppose as well, we shouldn't forget Alan Brown. He had a decent game against Scotland on the right-hand side too, actually, when Doherty was unavailable. So I probably should mention that too. The left side's interesting because I think it's been well documented over the last 5 to 6 years that everyone thought that Robbie Brady was going to be, especially after Euro 2016, the player for us the next 5-6 years. And obviously, you can't guarantee football, and we've seen that it's very unfortunate happening through injuries now. But he has seemed to have got over those injuries, touch wood. He's playing regular football now at Preston North End. And if he is fit, it does give you, if he's playing left wing back, does give you that slight bit of creativity in the team if he is playing. Like, I know James McLean, obviously, he's a divisive character. He's, people kind of think whether he's decent or, makes kind of too many mistakes or at the back.
You're getting political now, Luke.
I'm keeping the politics out, but I'm only talking about football ability. Because I see what he brings to the side, but if you're picking a footballing choice between Robbie Brady and James McLean, there's only one winner.
Yeah, but I think James McLean brings an awful lot that probably we don't have otherwise. He's just, his energy, his his commitment. Like he's a class above most players. But yeah, I think in the press conference on what day was it? Thursday or Wednesday?
Yeah.
Stephen Kenny basically said that what Robbie Brady brings is something different. In other words, he's not a typical wingback. He has a different way of thinking. He passes the ball. He's creative. He's not like a fellow who's bombing up and down the wing. He just thinks differently. He comes inside. He tries to find players. And I think based on what Stephen Kenny said in the press conference, I think he might be thinking about maybe doing things a little bit differently. And that's the only reason why I think Brady might be playing. But if you were to ask me to make an assessment or make a decision, I'd say it's probably still going to be McLean. But I think it's probably, 40-60 at this point.
Yeah. I suppose the other recall was Callum O'Dowda, which was, big news for himself, obviously being hampered with injuries the last 2 or 3 years. And again, kind of similar to Brady, another player that was close to getting called up to the Euro 2016 squad at the age of 2021, just hasn't kicked on from injuries have really curtailed him. But even he admitted himself in the press conference today, as we recorded on a Wednesday, he's saying, like, I don't want to be one of those guys that people say when they retire, he was tarnished by injury. He wants to kind of reach that potential. And he's another player as well that if, only 27, if he wants to kick on the next 2 to 3 years, he's a real asset to the side.
Yeah, and he's been I've watched at least 2 Cardiff City games this year, and he's been in great form. He has pace. He's creative again, same as Brady. But he's quicker, and yeah, he's been really good this season, and I think that he is in, amazing form. And I know probably the front three would probably be Ogbene, Obafemi and Barrett. But I think O'Dowda could definitely, muscle in on that as well, because he's at least off the bench, like he's in the form that, you can't really ignore him.
What do you think a good return is next 2 games? Do you think, would you think 3 points if you do lose to Scotland and beat Armenia home is a good return, or do you think 4 points minimum?
Well, Kenny was asked about it on Thursday, and he said that he wants to get 6 points if we come second in the group. That's probably going to be a playoff for the Euros. So that's really his position at the moment. But yeah, 4 points would be good. 6 points would be amazing. I don't think that we have anything to fear from either of those teams. Ireland hammered Scotland in Dublin a few months ago in June, and Scotland they're not a great side. and it was 3-0. It probably should have been 4-5. So there's nothing to fear. Obviously away it's harder than it is at home, but I think Kenny would be disappointed if it wasn't 6 points.
And just before we finish up, then we'll just chat about the 21's game, the playoff match on this Friday. Before we have Dave talk about it, we'll have a quick listen to Jim Crawford at his press conference today.
I'm definitely excited with it. I love, the whole sort of build-up, getting training sessions right. I know for a fact that, it take me longer preparing a training session with regards to session plan than what it is to do a training physically, So a lot of detail has gone into it. And, you're looking at players, you're just hoping that, you don't pick up any injuries. I know there's one more round of games to go on Saturday and Sunday. We've already lost, Gavin Kilkenny is a big loss. Oisin McAtee, he's still recovering from the last international window. And Joel Bagan has picked up, a tie hamstring. So they're the things that you're just hoping that we get a nice strong squad in on the Sunday evening when we meet up. But looking forward to the game. There's no doubt about it. It's a privilege to be involved in the game, and hopefully we get the right result on the Friday. But backed by a packed stadium, that's what we need.
I suppose that must be the great thing, that you're probably missing 10-15 players between senior call-ups and injuries, but it's still a strong squad. It's still
a strong squad, there's no doubt about it. A squad I'm happy with. We're missing players that have gone up to the senior team, but that's the nature of the beast, Players who perform well at club level and the 21s, they get promoted, and it's up to us as a staff to, can we unearth somebody else? And you've seen yourself, the talent that's in that squad, and then you've got Finn Azaz, who's coming in for the first time. He's a real quality player, so hopefully we can see a little bit of him over the 2 games as well.
Yeah, I was reading up on him there. His background is Israeli and Irish, so could be interesting as well.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be brought up. His grandparents from Israel, and his bloodline is Cork. So it was a funny one when I was having a conversation with him. He was laughing about it, saying, "Of all games to come in, it's against Israel," Yeah. So, but come here, he's a talented player. He's got great energy. He's he can see passes, score goals, and he's an exciting player.
And I know you said you looked at him at 18s, but has he actually been in a squad before? Or?
No, not to my knowledge. I was close enough at under 18s to bring him in, but look, there was other players, and that happens. But he certainly his call up now is definitely worth. Merits his performances up to now, because the times I went to see him play, he was excellent. I seen his game the other night against Oxford, and he was outstanding.
Like he's going to slot straight in there, is he?
Yeah. He's played an attacking role with Plymouth, and they're a good team, Plymouth. I seen them playing against Derby, and when he came on, he made a huge difference. So they actually went down and beat Derby 3-2 in the game, but he's a real talent.
Yeah, just looking through the squad, I think you have 8 strikers, probably 4 attacking midfielders as well. Is that kind of where you think the main strength of this squad is?
Yeah, look, it's it's something that we felt we needed to do. Bring in a couple of strikers. Look, we've got good wide players in Tyreek, Liam Kerrigan, but a few of them can play different positions too. So it wasn't a case of picking somebody because he's an attacker. They can play in other positions that we might need them for. So it's important that they're flexible. That it's not just pigeonholed into being a striker. Aaron Conley can play wide left. He can play up top. So that came into your thinking as well when you're picking the squad.
Festi is listed as a defender anyway. Is that where you see him, or do you still see him as a attacking player?
Yeah, Festi's a little bit of both. He, again, wide right. He can play right back. But again, if you need to shift formations during a game, again, he offers you that flexibility in terms of, he's playing wide right, things aren't working, he might come back and we might move other players elsewhere. But, there's definitely more to certain players than the fixed positions that people think that they play in, like Tyreek can play in a number of positions. Tyreek, he could play inside as a 10, he can play as a wing back, he could play out wide, so that's important too.
And Andy Lyons is another one as well. He's obviously hasn't featured an awful lot for you, just because I think Leo O'Connor has probably been playing so well. But the fact that he's on the left now and doing so well, is that?
Yeah, look, it opens the door for him, but it's something that in the last window that we were aware of, because even, you know, approaching the last window, he was doing very well. And since then, you know, he's picked up, you know, player of the month. He's scored 9 goals this season, as far as I know, you know, and he's had numerous assists. So he's definitely he's in a great place coming into the camp.
And are you surprised it's gone so quickly from Rovers to Blackpool?
No, because he's you know, he's a talented player. He really is, and he's hard working. You know, he's come into our camps at times and he wasn't playing, but what he did do, and what I do admire, is he just got on with it. You know, he kept his head down and worked hard in training. There was no sulking and what have you. And that, to me, sort of underlines his character. You know, when he goes back to Shamrock Rovers, he plays left wing back, which I thought was I was curious to see how he's going to play there. And in fairness to him, you know, he's been excellent in that position. You know.
And you obviously watch players in the Championship a lot. I suppose making that step up is like, what do you reckon is?
It'll be a step up. There's no doubt about a Championship. You know, I don't know too much about Blackpool, but it'll be a step up for Andy. There's no doubt about it.
Even from like Europa League.
See, it's the volume of games too, where you're playing Saturday, Tuesday. So now it's a real test of your physical nature. You know, can you keep playing in those games? Because the intensity of Championship is different to the intensity in those conference games. You know, but can Andy do it? Yeah, I think he can, because he's fit. He's desperate to learn, and he's a talent.
Just to
last one, Dave. That's all right.
Grant, just to finish up on you. You've waited a long time, kind of, to get to this level. You've moved through the FAI. Like, is this kind of the pinnacle of everything now?
Up to now, yeah, it's been great. But look, I just take it that whatever space I'm in, I need to be, you know, the best I can be in that space. You know, I'm 21's head coach at the minute. I've worked exceptionally hard with the staff to get the group here, and it is a pinnacle at the minute, but, you know, hopefully, you know, I'll have a different answer for you at the end of this window.
And just a quick one, you're from Joestown, is it?
Joestown, yeah.
And I suppose it must be special to be managing a Tal Stadium right beside your house.
Yeah, you know, it's proud, yeah, it's a proud moment. You know, when I first took over the team and took the boys to Tal Stadium, but you know, it's you know, Stephen's from Tala as well, and you know, you got Stephen Bradley from Tala, Vinny Parts. There's been a lot of managers around from Tala, so I don't know if it's the water there, but it's no, it is proud, to answer your question. You know, it is proud, and look, I'll have a fair bit of family that'll be at the game too.
So Dave, you're at the press conference yourself. How do you think Jim Crawford was? Was he apprehensive, nervous, excited for the challenge?
No, he's upbeat. I think he believes that Ireland will win the game, or win the 2 games, rather. He's very upbeat, and I think I know Israel are a good side. Their 19s were in the final of the Euros a couple of months ago, and they were leading England up until the last 5 minutes, and then they ended up losing in extra time. But look, they're a good side. There's a lot of good players in that squad. Leila Bada, who plays for Celtic, he's still eligible for the 21s. I don't think he will come down, because I think he'll be in the senior squad. But they have an awful lot of talent there. But we have an awful lot of talent there. So I think the first game is going to be very big. I think it'd be better if we were away the first leg. But look, we're at home the first leg. If we get a good result in that game, you never know. So I think Israel are possibly slight favourites, but it's all up in the air.
And we're going into the game as well, of course, with a few players missing, like Gavin Kenny and obviously Liam Kerrigan now, unfortunately, has torn his ACL, which is a huge loss. I think those two players in particular are kind of important to this campaign.
Yeah, but I even brought it up with Jim on Thursday. So we called up 8 players to eight strikers and 8 defenders. And 4 of the midfielders of the 8 are attacking players like Sir Ross Tierney and Will Smallbone. So it's a very attacking team. So I don't think the loss of Kerrigan, while he is a huge player, I don't think that we are under-resourced in that area. So you'd be more worried if we'd lost a couple of defenders. I know Mark McGuinness is out. But Joe Redmond is in there, and like we have, it's a good squad. Adam O'Reilly's come in. David Admosu is coming in goal,
and you have Aaron Cashin as well off Derby County, who's got plenty of regular football the last 12 months.
Exactly, yes. So it's a really good squad, and I don't think we have anything to be worried about. But it's just going to be a really tough game because a lot of those Israeli under 21 players will be playing in, Europa League and like a really high level. So it's going to be a tough game, but we don't have anything to be scared about.
What you think in the Aaron Connolly inclusion? Think he throws him straight in, or is he option off the bench?
I would be fairly certain he's going to play. Yeah.
You think he'll start?
I'd say so. Yeah.
Yeah, off the left.
Yeah, Jim basically said that, he can play number 9, but kind of off the left is his position. So I'd say it'll probably be him. On the right, I would say probably Tyreek Wright. And up top, I'd say probably Mipo Adebiko.
Quick word on Finn Assaz, if that's how you pronounce it. You were telling me Jim Crawford's been tracking him for a while.
Yeah, so Jim was manager of the under-18s, which are a non-competitive team. He was manager of them, 3-4 years ago? And Finn was on his radar, but he has, in the last 12 months, he's taken a massive step up. So he's been brought in, and he's scoring a lot of goals he was playing for Newport last year. He's playing for Plymouth now, who are a proper League One team. So he's scoring goals. He's playing attacking midfield, and again, I would have half a feeling that he might actually start.
Really?
Yeah, just from what Jim said to me, I would have a slight feeling that if he doesn't start, he'll definitely be part of the squad, or definitely be introduced at some point. But like in midfield, it'd be Coventry and Smallbone will be there somewhere. But I have half a feeling that Azaz might be involved at some point.
Yeah, so a quick look there, 8 games and 3 goals so far in League One, which isn't too bad. How do you rate our chances then, Dave? I know you mentioned briefly Israel be favourites possibly, but do you see a historic occasion next week we go through for our first ever competition, 21 level?
Jim is very confident, and I tend to, as a fellow Talaman, I tend to defer to the opinions of Talaman, and he does seem to think that we have a really good chance. So I'm being tentative, but I'd say we have a chance. I would still say that Israel are favourites, but
do you know what? I'm going to be confident. I'm going to say we're going to go through historic occasion next week in Israel. A great occasion. Quick run through some LOI fixtures this week. I know there's a lot of games called off due to the call-ups to international teams. This Thursday night, Shells and Shamrock Rovers play in Tolga Park. Saturday night, we have Finn Harps and Bows. And on Monday night even, we have Shamrock Rovers again facing UCD in Tallaght Stadium in the Premier Division. 2 First Division games then as well. We have Longford Town v Treaty United, which you mentioned earlier on with Tommy. And lastly, got Bray and Warford on Sunday. Dave, thanks for hopping on.
Pleasure.
And we'll chat to you all next week.